Thank you for the opportunity to speak. There was a young lady a few speakers ago who made mention that we are having fewer and fewer laws. I wrote a very short sheet of comments that I'd like to talk about. There is a myth that there are 20,000 gun laws, gun control laws, on the books. In actuality, the most informative answer to the question, how many are there, is about 300 state and federal laws. That doesn't include local laws, and nobody knows how many of those there are. But the bottom line is, regardless of the number of laws, be it 1 or 1,000 or some number in between, the only people that are going to obey them are the law-abiding citizens. Criminals do not. And criminals that you might meet on the streets of Greeville or anyplace else in the country are not our only concern. Obama is opening up our borders to anyone that cares to cross. His head of Homeland Security has just released 5,000 prisoners. His DOJ chief, Eric Holder, gives guns to Mexican drug cartels so they can come back across the borders and kill our U.S. citizens. Now, I don't know about you, but I like the Second Amendment.
Yeah, that's right.
I like the right to protect me against all of these people. Having said all that, I have two concerns with S115. First, I'm not extremely comfortable with every Tom, Dick, and Mary wandering around with a gun, concealed or open carry. They may or may not know how or when to use it. Having said that, I just like some thought given to that, because dealing with the consequence of not being able to, I'll deal with it. And the second problem that I have is, well, before I get to that, let me just say that I have both a South Carolina resident CWP and as well as a New Hampshire CWP. Those concealed weapon permits allow me, through reciprocity, the right to carry in other states. My concern is, with this bill, that other states will take a look at this and reconsider the reciprocity. I'm not sure how they will feel about people carrying without the concealed weapon permit, or with the concealed weapon permit, open or concealed, it doesn't make any difference. How are they going to treat us? Am I still going to be able to carry my gun into North Carolina or into Florida or wherever? That's my point.
Just an answer to that, we can't guarantee that. We can still have a CWP program, but we can't guarantee what other states are going to do. I mean, that's their state sovereignty.
But my point, sir, is that if we do something that takes away their reciprocity because of their concerns about our laws, and intentionally, unintentionally, there are consequences. I just mentioned it only. Maybe it might be something worth looking into before the bill goes forward, and some kind of consideration given to that.
Yeah, we have discussed that, and we're still going to have a CWP process, but you are right in the state's brain. We'll take a look at that and discuss it with other folks.
Thank you very much for your time.
Jerry Nicholson.
Yes, I'm Jerry Helgeson from Anderson, South Carolina. I live in Lake Hartwell, and I was born and raised in northeastern South Dakota. I've lived in Anderson since 1965 and wouldn't want to live anywhere else. But I learned a lot about the laws of various states, and I've probably had some experiences a little different or a little broader than some of the rest of you. I was quite fortunate in that I was born in Eden, South Dakota, and at the age 6, I got my first rifle. You say, oh my God. At age 8, I got my first shotgun. It sounded like it was kind of young. The shotgun was a 410 that my mother had. But put a little light back on that, my grandfather was a renowned gunsmith worldwide, and guns were around the house all the time, and I wasn't even 6 years old. I was sitting on his lap, shooting gophers with a 30-06. He was hell when it came to doing anything you shouldn't do with a gun, and that meant shooting the wrong birds. If it was crows and things like that, that's fine. If you're not shooting those songbirds, you won't have a gun. And it's kind of interesting because with an air rifle, a Benjamin air rifle, and a great sport there was to shoot gophers and things like that, and that's what we do. The 410, that was for shooting rabbits and pheasants. And my grandfather and dad used to get a big kick out of it. I lived by the lake. They'd walk along the edge of the lake in the wintertime. I'd be out there on the ice and they'd chase the rabbits out there. Here I am, an 8-year-old kid shooting the rabbits. Well, they thought that was a great sport. And I did too, but I learned a lot from them. And as I look at things today, I've got 2 sons and I've got 2 grandsons. I've taught them everything that I know about guns. And to give you a little my background there, I joined the military when I was 16 years old. A few years later, I ended up in Korea in combat duty with the 2nd Infantry Division. And when I came back, well, I got in the National Guard, and all told, I ended up with 43 and a half years of military service. I'm proud to say that I started out as a recruit, and I held every rank there was, including the BG, when I retired. But it was a great opportunity, and one of the greatest opportunities when I moved to South Carolina and got involved with some of the people here. But as far as teaching weapons, I was in the infantry for 18 and a half years. I was in the engineers for several years, air defense artillery, selective service, one of the various branches I had to qualify in. And when I was in the infantry, I had a great opportunity to teach a lot of rifle marksmanship training to young people, and it was priceless. But also, being a unit commander, I had opened to the armory in Rockford, Illinois. When my boys were growing up, I'd take them down to the armory and let them practice with me. So they learned guns very early. They taught their children the same way. Matter of things, a little unique. I just had a great-grandson born February 8th, and I debated on what I should do. I had my air rifle and a 410 shotgun, and I thought I'd let him have it. I thought his mother, that his grandmother might have fits. But I said something to my grandson about it. He said, well, I told him, I'd like to give you some money, and you can give him something with that. He's dead. Haven't you got some guns or something you can give him? With that open door, why, I gave him the air rifle I got when I was 6, and the shotgun I got was 8. And when they had the gathering, and I was wondering how I was going to go over some of the people. At that point, I didn't really care. Why, it was amazing how many people complimented me on giving him an heirloom and something that he could learn a lot with. So I felt real good about that. But there's a lot of things that I can say that have already been said, so I won't bother doing that. I think one of the major concerns here is training. And training has always been a great concern of mine in firearms. Like I say, my grandfather taught me and taught me well. And he had me write down the line that was wrong, and he was pretty tough on it. But I was able to carry that on to my family, and I'm glad I did. But I've seen things since then in the military and now in civilian life. I've got a little bit involved. I had a rather weird experience here a couple of years ago. And since then, I've learned even a lot more. But I never thought that somebody would come to my house and rob me and walk out alive. Because I always had a 45 1917 officer's model laying alongside the bed in the drawer. And a couple of times, these guys came in, the guy comes in a military uniform, knocks on my door, and wants to know if I'll fill out a questionnaire on the guard. I tried to get him to let me do it right there. You know I got to have it in the morning when I go in. There's another guy out there with some named Sue. Oh, okay, come on. I took him in the kitchen. I sat down. I filled out his questionnaire real naively. Didn't lock the door like a fool. And when I got through the questionnaire, I reached up and handed it to him. When I did, here's a guy with a mask on and 40 caliber pointed right in my head. Well, to make a long story short, he wanted to go in my safe and wanted me to give him a lot of money. And I finally got as far as the safe, and there was no money in there, of course. And I managed to take the gun away from him. He handed the gun to the other guy, and he just held it in the air like this. And I thought, what are they going to do when they find no money? I managed to get the gun away from the one guy. When I did, I pointed down toward him. He hit it. I put the bullet through the ceiling, and I drew it down on him. And when I pulled it, evidently had a magazine release or something, and it wouldn't go off. The moral of that story is, for self-defense, for God's sakes, don't have an automatic. And I go on and on, but my time's up. I didn't realize it was going to go that fast. But let me say something about training. I'm a member of the Concealed Carry Association. If you want to look them up and get involved with them, they're great. They give you a great insurance policy to back you up in case you do shoot somebody, you have to defend yourself. Another outfit that's in Las Vegas, one of the biggest in the country today, is called Front Sight. It's one of the biggest schools. One of the biggest schools in the country today. Those are places that if you're really serious, you can go for a few days, you can go for a week, and I see they just came out now where you get a home train program for less than $100 on your computer. But beyond that, you can go to your local guys that are doing the licensing training, and a lot of them are doing training programs. And I want to mention one thing. Coming this Thursday night, there's going to be a group of NRA people at Grady's upstairs in Edmonton. And I'm not sure what they're going to go over, but it'd be worthwhile for anybody that wanted to attend to go there and see what happens. But I'm sure it'll be a great program. Since my time is up, I've got other things to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Mark Elliott. And after Mr. Elliott, we got Mr. Horton. Ryan Horton.
But I want to thank you for sponsoring this bill. I'm very much in favor of it, and appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak. Wanted to share something from my personal experience. Happened when I was about 27. I was sent out of town with work as an engineer down in Orlando, Florida. But this relates just as well back to South Carolina. I'd been out, we've been working long hours, around 70 hours a week, and went out to dinner to a bar and grill, and I was coming home about 11 o'clock at night to the apartment complex, and I noticed somebody was following me in, not too far behind, and I thought it seemed a little bit odd, but then I thought, it's just somebody who lives here. And so I parked and started to, I got out the door, and I was about to close the door when this guy comes around from behind some other cars and said, holding a pistol out like this, pointed directly at my head, and says, give me your wallet, MF. And so of course, he was holding a gun pointed squarely at my forehead, and so I did. And then he says, sit down in your driver's seat. So I did that, and he's asking me for whatever else I have. I didn't have much in there. I gave him my radar detector I had, gave him some change out of the console, had given him everything I had. and the guy still wasn't leaving. He still had the gun there, pointed at the side of my head. And so, I had to make a split-second decision there. I was thinking, well, the guy didn't have anything over his face to conceal his identity. Maybe he's just planning to shoot me. And so he was standing there, glancing side to side to see if anybody was around. And when he glanced to the side, I grabbed the gun, and I probably could have taken it, but I figured if I tried to take it, one of us was going to get shot. And so I didn't. I just started yelling at the top of my lungs, and that's when I found out there was a second guy in the car waiting for him, pretty big guy. So as we're struggling for the gun, some guy comes over and starts punching me in the face. So they finally got the gun out of my hands, and fortunately they took off. And thank God I made it out there alive, and I didn't especially want to kill anybody. So I'm thankful. Well, thankful and not thankful they did. Who knows what those guys went on to do. Maybe the world would have been better off without them. But if constitutional carry had been law of the land at that time, I probably would have been armed. I grew up here in the lower part of South Carolina, out in the country, playing football, lifting weights, and hunting, and I felt pretty invincible. I probably would have had a gun with me, though, if constitutional carry had been law of the land, and I could have defended myself rather than just been at the mercy of some idiot, probably on drugs, holding a gun at the side of my head that, who knows, could have been a hair trigger. But thankful I made it through it. But I think constitutional carry would enable more people to have guns at the ready, and more guns in the hands of law-abiding citizens will be a great deterrent, and I strongly believe that. I could have defended myself if I had had a gun, or some of my neighbors, of which I never saw one. Maybe someone else would have been armed and come to help. Also, what happened afterwards, I called 911, and the police came, and I'm sure the police there aren't nearly as good as our folks here, but they did about absolutely nothing. The guy came there to write a report, and first thing he said was, "Oh, it probably wasn't even a real gun," and I showed him the cut marks on my hand where we were struggling for the gun. They wouldn't have been struggling for it if it wasn't a real gun, and I've had real guns in my hands all my life, and I know a real gun when I see one. But, so, anyway, had to deal with that jackass. And then it went to another guy who was supposed to investigate, and, they had taken my credit cards and my bank card, and he stuck it in a machine and tried to get some money out, but apparently the pictures and the users were out of sync, so they said. So they didn't have anything there, or so they said. And so basically they didn't give it much of an effort at all, and so those guys were just free to roam and do what they may. But I'm very much in favor of this bill. Thank you so much for sponsoring it, and I hope it passes.
Brian Horton.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak for a moment. Because the advantage of going here last, most things have already been said, but I would like to say a few things. A little bit about myself. I am a father of four. I've lived in Greeville County since I was about 6 years old. I am a former reserve deputy in this county. I'm a former South Carolina State Guard member. I'd like to start, I guess, with a quote here from John Witherspoon, who was born in 1723, and one of our lesser-known founding fathers. He says, "Upon the whole, I beseech you to make a wise improvement of the present threatening aspect of public affairs, and to remember that your duty to God, to our country, to your families, and to yourselves is the same. True religion is nothing else but an inward temper and an outward conduct suited to state your circumstance and providence at any time. And as peace with God and conformity to Him adds to the sweetness of created comforts while we possess them. So in times of difficulty and trial, it is the man of piety and inward principle that we may expect to find the uncorrupted patriot, the useful citizen, the invincible soldier. I'd like to reflect on that just for a moment. It's interesting to me that at the center of these three descriptive items we find the citizen. The citizen is, in fact, the foundation of any society. There's something in our culture, I don't quite understand what it is, but we seem to feel that the government needs to take care of us from the cradle to the grave. I don't understand it. It seems when I read our founding fathers that they had a belief in a limited government for very express purposes. They were not to be governing over every aspect of our lives. I listen to some of the people speak here. I listen to the media almost daily, and I shake my head in disbelief. I don't know where wisdom's going. I don't know where rational thought is going. But the reality is, the government cannot protect us. The police can't protect us. Nobody can. I don't know why it is, except ourselves, I don't know why it is that over and over we want to appeal to tragedies like Sandy Hook Elementary School. It is a tragedy. It is. But we need people that have wisdom and have the ability, the capacity, I don't know where it's gone, for rational thought, to stop making emotional decisions that do far greater harm than the tragedy itself. I listened to a lady talk about over and over and over again, she said, I want to be safe, I want to be safe, I want to be safe. I think she might have said it 10 times. That type of safety, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want it. I want to be free.
That's right.
Now I realize there's going to be problems with this system. There's problems with any system. The world is not a perfect place, folks. We all know it. No matter what we do, tragedies are going to happen. Probably, open carry, somebody somewhere, they're going to get a gun yanked off their side, maybe some kid's going to get shot, maybe some adult, and somebody's going to come up with emotion and say, oh, see, look what happened. We got to stop thinking like that. People are going to die regardless. We're sheep to the slaughter all day long now. What difference does it make? If you want somebody to volunteer, I'll go first. I'll get shot. But give the people the right to protect themselves. Now, I mentioned I was a reserve deputy. I recognize some of these folks out here. I've worked with some of these folks. They do a fine job. I appreciate their work. Some other people mention this. I'll tell you the truth from my own experience. We can't protect you. We can't do it. Almost every call I went to, every service call for 2.5, 3 years, we got there after the fact. We tried to clean up the mess. How's that protecting somebody? I might go arrest somebody, I might work with another deputy, arrest somebody, but it's not going to help you when you're dead.
That's right.
So we need to stop this ideology, this belief, this thinking that the government can protect us when in reality it can't. I don't want them to. I want to protect myself. I want my wife to protect me. I bought her a 6-hour pistol for Christmas, and and I want these people to protect me. My neighbors. I believe, according to my own faith, that true peace is in the heart through Jesus Christ.
Amen, brother.
But Jesus also said his kingdom wasn't of this world. It's very evident that we live in a day with evil all around us. And as long as this world exists as it is, until he eradicates evil, good people that believe in a sense of right and a sense of wrong, they are needed. They are needed to keep us safe. They're needed to keep us safe from some two-bit dog who would shoot my wife or cut my children's throat over $5 to get a fix of meth. We need good people to stand up and do what's right at all costs. Now, I'm just one man. This is my belief. Fortunately, I'm behind a very supportive crowd. I know clearly that there are other men and women like me. So I appreciate this bill. Obviously, I'm supported in it. I would ask that we allow citizens to do our duty, to protect ourselves, to care for us, to stop depending on the government to wipe our rears, excuse me. But let us do our duty, and may God have mercy on us all.
Amen.